Hi, I'm Wayne Tuttle, and welcome to Chasing Legends. Welcome back to Chasing Legends. Before we get on to this week, go down, hit the notification bell, subscribe to our channel, go to www.legendssuperstitionmountains.com. Remember the rendezvous coming up November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Gates will open on the 3rd, Friday the 3rd at 12 noon. Guest speakers Saturday evening, probably start around 5:36 p.m. in the amphitheater. So that being said, we're going to just get in today's story as we kind of wrap up, finishing up the month of September and getting ready to go to our spooky, spectacular October Halloween havoc. That being said and done, this story goes back probably sometime in the I would say late 80s. And the guy's name was Mike, and it was like Delvecchio, something. He was an Italian dude. And I'd worked with him. And he kind of let me know about a spot kind of out in Barkley Basin. And we talked a little, and I got kind of interested because he kind of said, I ran into this spot, and I'm not quite sure what to think of it. And I was like, oh, it sounds, what is it? And he described it as a big circle, and it kind of was lined with stones. And he said then there was an inner circle, and it was like stones. And in the center there was two rocks, like kind of standing up on end with a little space between them. And I thought, I didn't know a lot, so I thought, sounds like it could be an arastra. But he said it was 40 feet across on the bigger circle and about 15, 20 feet on the smaller one. So then I thought, well, maybe, they walk the inner circle. I don't know why you'd have to have an inner circle or an outer circle for the animal to walk. But it sounded similar. I was interested, so I went out with him. We took off, went through, cut across Barkley Basin. It was out south of Miner's Needle, kind of before you get to Spanish Graveyard and Coffee Flat. So it was kind of out in that general area, and we went out, and he was talking. He had just been out wandering, kind of off trail, and he kind of ran across this. Took him a minute to catch what it was. It was the rocks in the middle that kind of caught his eye, and then he started looking around and discovered the other stuff. So we went out. The problem was, back then we weren't using GPS and a lot of stuff like that. Everything in Barkley Basin, if you spent a lot of time out there, looks pretty much the same. So if you walk a quarter mile this way, everything will look kind of similar to where it did just before you were. And so we got out where he thought he approximately was and started to kind of spread out. He kind of told me what we were looking for. It was a little bit of a hill, kind of nothing too prominent, off to the northwest. And then you could see Spanish Graveyard. And there was a couple trees nearby, but it was kind of a clear area. And I'm like, okay. And there was a wash nearby, maybe 50 yards away, which that describes almost all of Barkley Basin. So we wandered around and kept moving south because he kept thinking, well, it has to be further down this way. And we kept moving, and we never found anything. And he was kind of upset. He said, he thought he'd really kind of, on his way out last time, kind of worked things out. We left. I told him, hey, here in a few weeks, a month, you want to go back out, let me know. I'll go back out with you, and we'll search another area. And I kind of kept track of where we were. Well, the next time we went out, he almost started the same exact search pattern. And we kind of started a little more south, but I told him, I said, we're kind of in the same area we started from. So he was like, oh. And so then we moved north, and I said, why don't we go about a quarter mile or so north? And we did, and the next thing I know is he said, this is it. I'm pretty sure this is it. And I didn't see it. It was really difficult to see. But once I kind of got up there and I saw those rocks in the center, I started looking around. You could kind of pick out the rocks. Now, what had happened, the rocks only protruded maybe 7 or 8 inches in spots. But there was a lot of dirt, so it'd be like it was broken up where you couldn't see anything. And I looked at it, and I was kind of pretty puzzled because it was kind of a large area. And I was like, I don't know, would a rastro be this big? So one of the first things we did is we dug around, in both areas and found there was no bedrock laid in there. So I was like, I don't know what the purposes it is. It's just soil. It's just dirt going down. So we kept going around. We tried to figure, there's nothing prominent, you know. We tried to think, oh, is it something for kind of capturing time? But if you're in the mountains in that area, you're going to always know the time. We kind of looked around the area. There was no pit houses, any sign of any groups had been inhabiting there. It was very odd. So, but we kind of spent a little time looking around, kind of just finally couldn't figure it out. And we left. It was a few months later, if I remember correctly, we went back out. And he said, oh, okay, I want to kind of go out and bring a couple other people. And he had a guy who had a metal detector off of like a Sears Roebuck or something. And he brought that out, and we decided to check the area again. And I remember as they were checking around the area, I was looking around just to see if I could find anything, a mining claim post, a fire ring, something that would determine something with it. And then the guy got a hit with the metal detector on the outside of the circle. And due east of the circle, almost perfectly compass point due east of it, about 3-4 feet away, there's a coffee can. Not one of the big ones, but one of those medium-sized coffee cans. And it was buried maybe 4 or 5 inches underground. And there was no lid on it. They dug it out, and then they were like, oh, you know, figured there's something in it, but they kind of carefully poured everything out. There was nothing in there. It was just dirt and stuff. Like they filled this coffee can with dirt in the hole. And we found that really puzzling, but then we thought, well, let's check the other coordinates, north, south, and west. And sure enough, we checked 2 more. I don't think we went and did like south or anything, but we found a coffee can about the same measurement away, buried down, same type. Couldn't really tell the coffee cans, but one we could kind of see the blue, and I'm trying to remember, but I thought, was it Maxwell House? Whoever had the blue cans. We recognized one of those just enough to tell, okay, it couldn't have been more than 20, 30 years old. It was a bit rusted, being in the ground, but it was pretty well preserved. And while we couldn't really read it, we could see the blue on it. So it was even more puzzling because there was nothing in the cans. We shook it out. There was no gold. There was nothing metallic in it. We kind of looked at it. We thought ashes. Is this a ritual thing? Is this a ceremonial thing? Came up with nothing. So it was a very interesting series of trips. I know they measured everything and did everything, but they couldn't come up with anything. Obviously, the cans made me feel it was more modern in origin. But again, I didn't find any kind of basis of a camp. Now, who knows? And it doesn't seem like cowboys would have went to that kind of extreme, a 40-foot circle with an inner 20-foot circle with these big boulders piled up. So about 9 years ago, 8 years ago maybe, about 8 years, 7 or 8 years ago, after the show had run, I wanted to go up into the mountains, and I took a trip out one morning. I just wanted to go out across Barkley Basin. This was not on my mind. I just wanted to get out. The weather was really good, and I just wanted to have a day where I just walked in the mountains. Not necessarily up in the wilderness area, but just walked, and where nobody'd bother me, and I kind of look around, kind of cover a lot of area I'd covered before. But, you know, I'd found pit houses and ruins and things in the areas and Barkley Basin before, so I thought I'm just going to go out and just kind of like walk a route, nice big circular long route, have a nice day out in the mountains, kind of, you know, just get things out of your system. So it was just a really nice walk. While I was out, I got to the area where I was pretty sure, I was like, you know what, I think I'm pretty close to this area. So I kind of coordinated and kind of got myself in, and what I felt, I found it. Everything looked pretty familiar. The 2 trees that I kind of saw off to the side, the little hill, because it kind of went up, and it had a little bump, and then another little kind of rise, went across and then down. It wasn't very tall. You know, I wouldn't say it was taller than maybe 30 feet, 40 feet. So it was just a rise, a little hill. But everything seemed to be in the right place. I was looking around, but those stones weren't there. And there was no sign of anything. I even kind of went around with my shoe and kind of moved and kind of tried to move dirt. I was like, what would be the logic? Could it be buried? And I realized it'd probably been, you know, 30 some odd years or over 30 years. So there was a good chance that it kind of, with the erosion, all the storms over time, some of it, but someone had to move the stones. And I kind of thought it was unusual. Did they ever come up with anything? They had a number of theories. I remember one was an Aztec Mayan theory. There was a stone maps theory. They had some sort of Apache ceremonial circles theory. They had a portal theory. None of that I kind of felt like kind of determined it. I kind of felt it definitely had kind of more of a modern feel or something to it. But if you're out in Barkley Basin, you're heading out towards Spanish Graveyard and you're just bushwhacking across and you come across this little hill and there's a couple trees and you see that stuff. Now the two stones appear to be missing if I was in the right spot. But they're two large, maybe 3-foot high stones that have been turned long ways on end, kind of back to each other. And if you find that spot, if you dig around, you'll find those. And maybe somebody today would find something. Maybe somebody would be kind of, oh, I get it, what it is. We never found any prospects, any pit houses, any sign that anybody had really camped there or done anything there, which doesn't always mean something, but it just seems kind of odd. So there's this week's story, kind of the mysterious circle in Barkley Basin for you. And again, I love to throw those out because occasionally, so far, all these little mysterious places, no one's really come up with one, been able to refine them or rediscover them. And it would be cool, you know, because just to confirm, and I don't know if I have a photograph of it, and it wouldn't have photographed very well. Like I said, it was very indistinguishable walking up to it. The stones in the center is what caught my eye. And then once I did that, it took a while to kind of suddenly realize, oh, there is this pattern because of how the erosion and everything around it went. So, but there you go, the mysterious circle in Barkley Basin, or the mysterious standing stones in Barkley Basin, either one. So there you go. I hope everyone's having a great month. Looking forward to October. Just about 5 weeks to go before the rendezvous, November 3rd, 4th, and 5th. Hope everybody's well. Hope everybody's smiling and peaceful. And I look forward to see everybody there with our guest speakers, Jack Sanfelice, James Simpson, and a number of other things we have planned. I think everybody will have a good time. Come on out Friday night, hang out with us, kind of chill. And then Saturday we'll get a number of things. We'll have a number of different things going through the day. Kind of wound up with the guest speakers that night. Looking forward to seeing everybody. Hope you'll be there. I definitely will. And always remember, I'm Wayne Tuttle. You're not. And this was Chasing Legends.